Disclaimer. This is not my story. I found this story on Wattpad by a user called allthingsblurry. She wrote the entirety of the story, and I'm just voicing it and publishing it for more people to see. Originally, her story is written in a POV form, interchanging between the perspective of different characters. All I did was change up the format in a way that didn't make it a POV story, and I added more descriptive language and really dragged the story as it was very vague. However, the story is entirely theirs, and I will not be taking credit for any of the storyline. For efficiency purposes, I have compiled every chapter I publish of her story as a mashup of several separate chapters published by her. This is her Wattpad, and I have also added it in the description in case you want to go support her. Let her know your thoughts on the story, tell her I voiced her story if you want, and or read the original. I really highly advise you do that. This is a random story that I read and personally found very entertaining, and I hope you do too. Enjoy. The first couple of times the two shared a bed, Albus found it a little strange, waking up to Scorpius next to him, but he pretty quickly got used to it. Honestly, that was probably because he kind of liked it. Laying in bed, Albus went into deeper thought about other things like relationships. Scorpius and Rose were already going steady and doing very well for themselves, and Albus hadn't even been on a single date yet. He had to catch up. But what could he do? Where would he even start? He was fine being alone anyway. Love wasn't a desperate priority he had to entertain. Christmas break had been coming up. Tomorrow would be the first official day of the winter break. Albus had written earlier on to his parents, asking if Scorpius could stay with them for a few days. He was still waiting for a reply. Albus turned over to face Scorpius, taking in his image before starting to wake him up. He shook him by the shoulder, specifically. "Scorpius, get up, lazy pants, we need to get ready." Scorpius cringed and sat up a little. Lazy pants? Seriously, what are you, a middle-aged father of three? Albus slipped out of bed and walked to the chair onto which he dumped his uniform, starting to get dressed again. Yeah, okay, anyway, we gotta get to the hall before breakfast, so, hurry up or whatever. Scorpius would have lazed around a little more, but he was actually pretty hungry. The boy sat up with a whine and stretched his pale limbs. Yeah, alright, I'll just take a moment. Don't run off. During mealtime, several owls flew in and started dropping things onto the large tables. Oh, the post is here. Albus looked up from his plate of food, watching who got things and how much stuff was sent in. He was still hoping for a reply, so he was also hoping something would come for him. He had a gut feeling he'd be getting a response, and of course he was right. A letter was dropped right in front of him, barely missing his breakfast. He picked it up and turned it over, seeing it was from his mom and dad. Score. He opened up the letter quickly and began to read. As he skimmed through the letter, his expression brightened the further down the page his eyes traveled. So, what does it say? Scorpius said, watching Albus the whole time. Albus put the letter down and got back to eating, sliding the letter to Scorpius. Bingo. It says that you can stay with us for a part of the holidays. The boy looked delighted. Scorpius picked up the letter and skimmed over it himself, also lighting up. This came as quite a surprise to him. Really? Wait, you asked for that? Yeah, kinda. I mean, I think it'll do you some good if you and I spend some time together. What do you think? Without all the assignments in the way and stuff. Scorpius was bouncing in his seat. This was like a mini Christmas gift on its own. Oh, sheesh. Wow. Thank you? Oh, damn. This holiday's gonna be the fun one then. I promise I'll behave. I hope your parents aren't mad at me still. Oh, wow. Wait, when are we leaving? Albus had just stuffed his mouth with food again, so he just pointed to the bottom of the letter at a separate line that read, "Make sure you don't forget anything. We'll be picking you up tomorrow on the first day." It was an exciting evening for the boys. Picking, stuffing, packing, cleaning, and constantly talking about all the stuff they could do in the holidays. Scorpius told Rose about the plan and said his quick goodbyes. The boys were excited, so they had a bit of trouble falling asleep, but they managed to eventually. The following morning, they got to their train safely and waited out the long ride before finally stepping off the King's Cross station, where Albus's parents said they'd pick him up. Jenny and Harry stood by a pillar, waiting for the boys. Upon seeing them, Albus grabbed his luggage and ran over, dropping it on the floor before hugging both of them tightly. He missed them. A lot. Scorpius picked up his luggage and timidly walked over as well. "Hello, boys," Ginny said, giving Albus a kiss on the forehead and then looking over at Scorpius with a bright smile. "How are you, Scorpius?" The blonde lit up a little and straightened his posture, feeling welcome. "Oh, I'm great, Miss Potter. Thank you so much for letting me stay a while with you. For the holidays and stuff." Ginny gave Scorpius a hug and pet his soft hair. "Oh, no worries, darling. It's our absolute pleasure to have you over. I mean, it will be wonderful for us to get to know you better. We hear so many good things about you. Oh, that reminds me." She turned to her husband with a scolding look. "Harry has something to say to you." Harry looked a little uneasy and awkward as he cleared his throat and said, "Yeah, I wanted to apologize for thinking that you were a bad influence on Al and keeping you two apart. I realized that I was quick to jump to conclusions about you. You're a pretty cool guy, so I'm genuinely sorry for that. You know, just, trying to start a little fresh here, turn over a new leaf or whatever, build new memories." A smile came over Scorpius' face. That really did help him feel less worried when some drama came up with Albus. It was that extra bit of reassurance that made the idea of the holidays less stressful. "Oh, it's fine, sir. I understand. Yeah, it's okay, Mr. Potter. I'm really glad you eventually came around. I'm happy that we can put the past behind us, sorta." Albus just smiled as he watched his best friend and his dad make up. It was very like Scorpius to forgive people so easily. Even Albus himself was still a little bit angry with his dad, but Scorpius was all smiles. Walking back to the car, Jenny decided to spark some more conversation. "So then, kids, how was school been? How are your studies? You guys doing good?" Scorpius engaged himself quite quickly. "Oh, don't even remind me. We have so much homework to do. Like, the teachers are really pushing our limits this year for the owls." "Oh yes, 5th year. I remember it being difficult for us too. So many people had nervous breakdowns, anxiety. Pretty much damn near everybody had eye bags. The library was crammed, though, and we had this one horrible teacher." Albus squeezed in between his mom and Scorpius, looking up at his dad. "Horrible teacher? Which one?" Ginny and Harry shared a look before the man gave a soft smile and pet his son on the head. "Don't worry about it. It's best you do not know. I mean, she doesn't teach at this school anymore, anyway." Albus and Scorpius were still curious to find out who it was, but chose not to push the matter any further. The way home was packed with busy conversation and laughter. It was great. Everything fell right into place. Everything felt perfect. And upon arrival, Scorpius and Albus rushed to unpack. These holidays were going to be absolutely perfect. "Albus, Scorpius, boys, come on down for dinner." It had been 2 days since the holidays began, and so far the boys were getting along just fine. James was at a friend's house, too, for the while, therefore he couldn't really pester them and cause any trouble. Albus sat beside Lily at the dining table and pulled Scorpius down to sit beside him. Although Scorpius was a rather social individual, and despite his hardest efforts, he still found it just a little bit difficult to have a meal with the Potters and not feel completely awkward. But we all know the feeling, where minutes feel like hours when you sit at a table as a guest. And he didn't know whether it was fortunate for him or not, but this time there was no awkward small talk. Was his silence really better than answering awkward questions about school and family? At least during small talk, he was the one being interrogated. But now he just ate in silence, and it was just the silent clatter of forks and knives. The occasional, "Don't be shy, take some," from Ginny, and the, "You like it?" from Harry. Scorpius was dead inside, but of course, this was a social family, so Scorpius wasn't surprised when after dinner, while sitting by the fireplace with Albus, Harry inquired once more. "So then, Scorpius, I've been meaning to ask, how's your father doing lately?" Scorpius gave Albus a bit of a look and then stared down at the carpet as he spoke. "Oh, Dad? Well, he's doing just fine. Yeah. Hasn't been very involved lately, so I couldn't tell you the details, but I presume he's doing alright." Ginny noticed the tension growing in the air, so she jumped in. "School! Well, not the studies, but life. Just, how has that been for you boys, besides the terrible assignments? We know the last few years can be full of drama, so go on. Anything good happen? I want all the dirty secrets. Harry shoved her playfully, and she settled down closer by the kids with a laugh. Albus exchanged another look with Scorpius to see if there was anything they wanted to open up about or conceal, particularly. Scorpius just shrugged, so Albus turned to his parents. Well, I hate to disappoint you guys, but the year's actually been quite okay. There's not very much going on right now, so nothing eventful to particularly talk about. No funny accidents in class even. Everything's just kind of monotone. But then again, there's still plenty of time for that to change. There's enough for the year to go around. Still, who knows? Maybe there'll be something worth talking about. Scorpius cut in. Harry smiled and leaned back against the base of a couch that stood behind him by the fire. He took down a pillow and put it behind his head, staring into the dancing flames as his mind wandered. My 5th year was quite much more than just tests and such. In his calm, storytelling voice, Harry Potter proceeded to recall the events of his own 5th year as the boys listened with great attention. Albus had heard all this before, but he never turned down the opportunity to listen to the stories of his father's life all over again. Ginny had made them some hot chocolate, as the family spent the cozy afternoon just chatting and telling stories. Mostly the parents, of course. As time flew by, dusk turned to night, and the group was slowly getting tired. The 2 young boys said goodbye to the loving parents and made their way upstairs. But there it was, that very same discomfort. Scorpius stood still, staring down at his feet while he rocked back and forth from heel to toe. Despite the comforting evening, the anxious feeling came back. Albus sighed as he fluffed up his pillow. What is it, Scorp? The blonde looked up at Albus and spoke in a soft voice. Is there any chance I could sleep in your room tonight? Again, possibly, potentially? Albus tossed his pillow on the bed. Nightmares? Yeah. Yeah, sure. Of course can. Mom and Dad don't seem to mind it. Yeah. Alright. Hey, thanks a lot for all this, by the way. Huh? Oh, nah, no problem. No need to thank me. Trust me, it's all good. After the evening routine of a shower and brushing their teeth, the 2 climbed in bed. They lay in silence for a while before starting to make small talk, which escalated into a full conversation. Somewhere along the line, Albus found himself wondering, and hence asked, just out of curiosity, how are things with you and Rose going so far? Scorpius seemed deep in thought and looked confused. Wait, didn't I tell you? Albus sat up a bit. What do you mean? Tell me what? Scorpius pursed his lips and sighed while playing with his hair, staring off somewhere into the distance. Rose and I, we kind of broke up? I mean, I don't know. After some thinking and talking and hanging out and just doing things together, we sort of realized that we weren't the best match for each other and that, well, I just see you as more of a friend, just a friend and nothing else. I don't really feel that spark. Good thing Scorpius was looking away because Albus caught himself grinning ear to ear. Why did this make him happy? Why was this making him so damn excited? Scorpius wasn't in a toxic relationship, so what was the issue here? Not like he was ever possessive over his cousin anyway, but he still decided to use that as his excuse. Well, she was my cousin anyway. I mean, that could have been all kinds of awkward in the long run, Albus said as he settled back into the blankets, to which Scorpius nodded. How are you feeling, though? He asked, not wanting to get too ahead of himself here. Well, I'm actually doing pretty fine. Yeah, it sucks, but then again, we left on pretty good terms, so there is no element of, a heartbreak or anything. Well, at least not for me, but I don't know about her. That said, pretty sure she's just fine. We're friends, he said, as he then closed his eyes and hugged a pillow with a soft yawn. Good night, Albus. Albus nodded and turned on his side to face Scorpius. He studied his face as he fell asleep, watching the world slowly zone out of focus before completely dissolving into darkness. That night, among other things, Albus found himself dreaming of Scorpius. A rather peculiar dream it was, too, one of a kind, not his usual type. He dreamt of his voice, his white smile, his ringing laugh that was so perfectly pitched, just music to his ears, a signal of happiness, a trigger of joy and safety. Matter of fact, everything about Scorpius was rather perfect, but of course, he had to be. Albus was rather selective with his friends, and certainly the best one was the best for a reason. His role was to be perfect, no? And still, it was rather strange to be dreaming of the young man in such a way, right? Was it? Right, I mean. To want to run his fingers through that pale blonde hair and to get up so close to that perfectly sculpted face. To get lost in those breathtaking eyes. His slender figure, the way the corner of his mouth creased when he gave a genuine smile. The ray of sunshine burning through his shut eyelids disrupted the weird montage of Scorpius that had been taking up most of Albus's brain's capacity the entirety of the night. He sat up and looked over at the boy resting beside him, not wishing to ponder the occurrence any further. He grabbed a pillow and started beating the absolute devil out of Scorpius to get his mind off of everything. "Get up, sleepyhead!" he yelled. Scorpius woke up rather alarmed and threw his arms up to shield himself in self-defense, still blinking rapidly to try and get a clear picture of the world around him. What's wrong? Albus! What? Nothing's wrong, it's just morning, and in the mornings you're supposed to be waking up. Scorpius groaned and tucked his head under his own pillow to protect himself from the sun and the raging Potter on top of him. Sod off, I don't want to. Can you just let me sleep, please? No, you don't get to sleep. It's my house, my rules. Albus shook his head and delivered one final, huge blow with the pillow to Scorpius's back, to which the boy hissed and chucked a pillow of his own at the boy, knocking him over. He sat up and rubbed his eyes in an attempt to function properly. In the name of everything holy, I swear to God you're annoying. I hate you. Albus was all smiles and laughs until Scorpius said what he said. It was clearly just a joke, but the way it was said cut deeper than an insult. He stopped his attacks and antics. He gave him a sad, pouty, and hopeful look, to which Scorpius raised a brow and rolled his eyes once it was noticed. "Oh, Albus, you dumbass! No, don't look at me with those puppy eyes! No, none of that! Of course I don't actually hate you, damn it! Although you're really giving me every reason to do so right about now." "Really?" said Albus. "Yeah, really. Albus, I could never hate you." For some reason, this made Albus's heart sing. The muscle pumped at a higher rate, and he felt butterflies. Although this was a simple, meaningless, petty fight, hearing Scorpius say that lifted his spirits beyond comprehension. It felt so special, so reassuring. Much, much more special than it should have been.